own laptops, so the computers you have here are not really being used. So they're comfortable using their own technology. So to come up with material and using sources that are already out, there to use that in your classroom that students are familiar with might help you, might benefit you. So my vision of sorts will be we'll promote that idea of bringing in an understanding of outside resources that students already know about, that already know how to use, and bring them into your classrooms. So I'm here to help promote that. So I want to first start with an overview on Google Apps. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Google Apps. I like to ask questions before I dive into this to get a sense of how many of you know what Google Apps, what that means. Raise your hand. You don't have to raise your hand. Okay, so about 60–70% of you. Google Apps, basically a big part of that is Google Docs. So we have documents, we have PowerPoints, like very much like Microsoft Office. Google Apps is an online environment that's almost like a hub of where you can share information that is in a document format, that's in your PowerPoint format, spreadsheet format, just like you have Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Think of it, it's all online, it's all electronic. Okay, so what that means, you can share all of that information. It's a sharing, it's a collaborative environment. Okay, which a lot of kids, a lot of students, that's their mindset. They know that's where they live, so to say. They're all about sharing applications on their mobile phones, or they're all about sharing information. So to do certain exercises or to have activities or assignments in that type of environment will definitely, I think, create an exciting place to work. So I have a smaller presentation here. Not that one. That promotes a little bit of this Google Apps environment. Collaboration is the big word. Because we, as an educational institution, it's all about collaborating amongst each other as faculty and also within the classroom amongst students. So this idea of collaborating is important, because I feel like sometimes students can, they can feel that disconnect, I guess, from the classroom or what you're trying to teach or what you're trying to go through. So the Google world promotes this idea that everyone is connected together, that everyone has the same understanding of what is going on inside the classroom and or outside the classroom on a daily basis. Because wherever you are, you can access your Google Doc, your Google PowerPoint, your Google spreadsheet, whatever it is, you can access it anywhere. It's always accessible. Because if you think of, I guess, the past, or maybe how you're using Microsoft Office, for example, right now, you're working in this local environment which is not connected to the internet. So you have to push it to the internet. It's almost like another step that you have to do. With Google Apps, starting in that environment, it's already there. And it saves automatically. There's not a lot of extra steps that you have to do. It's already there, it's already accessible for your students and for yourselves. So just start to think about this type of environment. If you don't, and some of you may already know what this is all about, but it's good to have a refresh and understand kind of the main idea of it. So we have a workflow environment between Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and then of course Gmail, which is another kind of part of this, where Google Mail, as we all have a Gmail address in wakefieldSchool.org, which is called the domain. We all have Gmail addresses. So since we have a Gmail address, we already have access to all of these other resources. The Google Docs, the PowerPoint, the spreadsheet, groups, all this other Google-related information, we have access to it already. It's already there to our disposal. So why not take advantage of that, since it's up there for free to use? So all you have to do is pretty much log in just like you would check your email. And I'll show you this in a second. All of the applications are there to use, however you see fit to use them. Okay. So basically, you have your Gmail address, and then you have access to all of these applications. And these are just the main three that I was going to get into today. When we think of files and storage, because our computers have but so much storage on them, so you can have video files, all software programs, but there's an extent to how much you can it can encompass. Okay, Google has in terms of their storage, it's I don't know what the exact number, but it's infinite, almost amount of storage. You will never exceed how much storage is on your Google in your Google environment. So uploading video, PowerPoints, files, you'll never have to worry about, is it causing my computer to run a little bit slower because I'm saving so much information, okay, over time. So you don't have to worry about transferring files on a flash drive, because in the past it was always, oh, I did a paper on my computer, I have to move it to my teacher's computer for him or her to grade it, or I have to email it to her as an attachment, or him as an attachment. Now you can share it, it's all in one location, it's all in the same home. You don't have to worry about, moving it from one place to another, essentially. Since we're all connected, we're all in the same place, it's always up there, you don't have to worry about that extra step. So this whole process is trying to make it easier for you all to understand. Let's see. Okay, so Google Apps, like I said, involves the Google Docs that I talked about, which involve, when I say Google Docs, I mean like Microsoft Word, if you want to think of that mindset, Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Those are the three big ones that is involved in Google Documents. Okay. You also have calendaring, which is the sharing of calendars. As we here at Wakefield, Google School, we have Google email addresses that makes it much easier to share each other's calendars. Now, you don't have to share every single appointment you may have on a calendar. You can choose what appointments you want to share. Now, how many of you use Google Calendars? How many of you use Outlook calendars as a way of, okay.
I tried to use the Google. I had a hard, it was clumsy. It just was not user-friendly.
Yeah.
Okay, staying on that topic, how many of you have synced your Gmail, all your Gmail information into Outlook? Or how many of you use Outlook as your email interface? So most of you go online to Gmail and view your email, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there is a tool, which you may or may not already know, on each of your laptops that allows you to sync all of your information that's in your Google environment to the Microsoft Outlook environment, which for some of you may be a little more user-friendly. Do you all know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find
But have you not gone through with that yet, or you have, or
oh yeah.
How has your experience been with that?
Well, I find that the Outlook environment is I feel safer in it because in Google there were the conversations and things that go on. I got very nervous that I would forward things or reply things to people and I wasn't clear. It's just the way it's laid out was not.
Yeah, the conversational view, or
It
sort
was,
of when
yeah,
you
it wasn't, it was really, it
Right.
scared me because I was worried that I would be responding to the wrong people and sending things around to the wrong places. So I actually went back into Google. I sync up with Google, with Outlook all the time now.
And it syncs it automatically, by the way.
Yeah, and it works fine that way. And yet I can still access my Google when I'm off campus or wherever through my phone. I can still access it,
So and that's a great point, what you just said. You can, even if you were to do this syncing, you can still stay in your Gmail environment. But I think it's important as we move forward here, as I move forward, one of my big challenges that I've heard a few responses from faculty in the surveys that I set out, the fact that not all of us are in the same platform. We need to be we need to have the same, not a common theme throughout, but we all need to be kind of in the same environment in terms of how we access all of our information. Now, that won't go as far as being forced necessarily to use Outlook, for example, but if there's the option of being able to use either or, I still feel